for the fun of it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, boom.
Nice.
We still got it.
Yeah.
This is why you guys are the pros.
Reminds us to some shows when we have to sync it literally, the music and the visuals when something technical doesn't work. So we're like lights, 1, 2, 3. Has happened.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could talk about that in a second. Because yeah, it's a funny thing. I was thinking about your guys' career just in general, and from when you started performing up until now, just so much of the not the music, but the actual production of the show has changed, the level of the festivals, the technical level, the just how much money is going into the whole thing. It's kind of wild. And I wonder if that was that an adjustment period for you guys, or was it just sort of gradually you ramped up your show to match it?
Exactly. That was a gradual thing, right? I remember, even apart from that, back when we started, obviously we didn't even have a manager for years, right? Bossy, and it was like everything one step after another. And then we played shows, didn't even think of visuals. Then we created our first visual loop for remember, what was it? Like a 30-minute loop.
Yeah.
Simple. And then,
and it just runs in the background, right? Those early runs.
Exactly. But at the beginning, what's a manager? What's a visual loop? It was about a DJ show. The DJ, when we started, was placed somewhere in a dark corner, right? Yeah. And then some of the big room clubs eventually put the DJ a little more visual, because it started to be like, hey, people are looking for that special guy, or they're coming for that guy, and then step on.
Yeah, I remember that and some shows in Holland, I think, were the first ones where we saw an entire club all facing the DJ. Before that, they were dancing everywhere, all over the place, right? And then, that was so interesting. That was new during the early 2000s, I would say.
So total new kind of dance culture. It was like people were in the clubs, they were at the bar and dancing, and now it's like when we play a show, it's every single face in our direction. So thinking about it, it's actually a total different way of going out and partying and enjoy the night.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I started DJing in the late 90s. And so I was right on the tail end. When I first started going to events and all that, it was very much the old days that you're talking about, where it was dark. You couldn't really see anything. I didn't know where the DJ was. And then kind of right at the end of the 90s, when I first started getting my first real shows, is when that switch happened. And it was really weird. I wasn't expecting it. For you guys, was that something in the early days, were you comfortable with that? Did you feel like performers, you wanted to be on stage?
You were just mentioning the one word. A DJ turned more into a performer these days. It's more a performance. Some people come more for the event, the performance, than eventually for the music, which still, me already wrapping it up in what I say now, still for us, the music is always the center and should be the key of attention. And that will always be what's most important for us. But of course, these days, you cannot just, look on your players and not interact at all with the crowd. You can't do this these days. And maybe I can speak for the two of us. I think we grew into that. We're never the guys that would search for every camera. Oh, we got to jump in there. But yeah, we grew into the situation, and we're comfy with it now. It's fun, and when the crowd gives you so much energy to cheer back at them, it's awesome. That's really emotional and driving. And so we grew into it, and we really enjoy it now. Maybe it would be boring to still do just the cool DJing and no one looks at you, right? So it's actually,
it was nice to see when they all face you also, especially back then, because the production wasn't as big. It was still about the music, but they were still facing you. You just felt like they really care about the music. They really want to hear new music and expect you to surprise them. And it was good to see all this attention, and it made us also better DJs, I think, you know?
Yeah, that's absolutely true when you realize that everyone's relying on you like that.
Yeah.
And you guys came up, I was reading about you guys before I knew we were coming to talk. And am I right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Krefeld, Germany?
Yeah. You're pronouncing it really well.
Okay, good. So talk a little bit about, are you both from there originally, born there?
No, from that area, yes, but not that specific town.
But considering very, very close, we're both, we were circling it in by you maybe 20, me 30, no, not even 30 miles, to both about 20 miles max. And then by the end, we were living on the same road in Krefeld for seven years or something, which was very, very convenient. We could do everything together.
And it just kind of worked out that way.
Be in the studio, be babysitter for the kids, stuff like this, everything.
Either Krefeld or where you were born originally, what kind of towns are we talking about? Are these small towns, mid-sized places?
Düsseldorf, I'm sure some people have heard about that. It's still considered not, compared to the US, it's not really a big town. What is it now, 700,000?
Yeah, so something like the Cologne is maybe the most famous city, like 40 miles away. The Ruhr area, so it's literally plenty of cities of, let's say, around about 250,000, but they're so close to each other that they make a huge area, which is literally one city of, I don't even know, 15 million or something. Considered by that, it's huge, but every city by itself, it's cozy and warm and easy. Nothing big, but I think it's a good area.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, that reminds me maybe of the East Coast of the U.S., where I think all of us are right now. Is there's several cities, but you can get to each one of them in an hour or two. Just going up and down.
Yeah, it's like when we were like 2 hours by car to Frankfurt. In 2 hours by car, we were in Amsterdam in Holland. So musically, it was really good area to be with. It could be, as I said, in Holland, in all the right places. Cologne was musically an interesting city those times. Obviously, Frankfurt was huge back then.
And when you were younger, was that a pretty common thing? As teenagers, you'd pop over to Holland or pop over to Cologne?
At first not. When we were teenagers, speaking for myself, just to go to Düsseldorf, these 20 miles, that was like, oh my God, you were going there to that famous club that just opened. So it was like, Jesus Christ. And then, but then we started driving to see Sven Väth in Frankfurt, or going to Amsterdam or driving to Belgium, to La Rocca Club on a Sunday afternoon. So,
but in general, the scene in the cities was pretty good. Like you had 4 or 5 clubs, just even in a smaller town like Düsseldorf or whatever, right? That you could go to every night if you wanted to, right?
Which is kind of sad. Clubbing back then was the thing, the new thing, from discotheque to club, and then techno started. And as Nick said, every single weekday there was at least one spot somewhere in 30 minutes drive, and that was the hot spot for the night. And we were literally clubbing every night. That was just a very awesome time. A lot of new music, a lot of creativity out there. The times that we started producing ourselves, and so much happening.
It's interesting for me because I know a lot about the origins of house music and the origins of techno. And I realized when I was coming to talk to you guys, I knew less about the origins of trance music. And I was looking it up a little, and I'll just admit this on the show, that I didn't realize, at least according to what I was reading, trance has roots, its original creation in Germany.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just one track suddenly starting and then boom, there's trance or something. Maybe the track that most people would come up with is It's eventually Age of Love. Then the biggest mix for that one was Jam and Spoon, a German production. But speaking for myself, the most influential label in trance was maybe IQ Records.
Definitely, same for me.
In Frankfurt, and so that's the roots. That was like say 92, 93, but a lot of producers from the Benelux as well. But so yeah, it was pretty much a Dutch, Belgian, German thing. I guess more than maybe a UK or American style.
Right. Yeah. It's just interesting when you have that sort of home cooked sound. And it makes me wonder too, you're talking about all these clubs and all these nights happening in this really vibrant scene. When you were, even younger than that, when you were just kids, was dance music in Germany, electronic music? I mean, was it just around you? Was it on the radio? Was it sort of easily accessible, or did you have to seek it out?
I think you had to seek it out. So when you speak about Düsseldorf, there's Kraftwerk. I remember I was 17 or something. I was going to a concert, Nine Inch Nails, like so that mixture of electronic and electronic body music, I guess we called it back then.
You're right.
So there was quite something in our scene, but it was not a mainstream thing. Techno really had,
was, right? Not in Germany though.
Yeah, we had to fight for that. I remember me playing in the club. I was getting fired because I wanted to play twice 10 minutes of techno music, and the boss said, "Oh, my best customers, they leave when you play that Captain Kirk shit," I guess. And I said, "Man, but that's the future. Come on, who are these guys? This is like everyone else loves it." Long story short, 2 years later, he booked me and was opening a Sunday just for that music. So,
what was popular? What were you being asked to play before that?
Well,
that was before Cosmic 8, obviously, right?
Of course, yeah.
Way before that. Well, literally, Nick, I mean, we played everything. Let's call it dance music. We called it dance music, right?
Yeah.
Which can be everything like soul to soul.
And we played the whole night.
Early hip hop.
Yeah. And were you guys DJing together before Cosmic Gate was a thing?
No.
Okay.
We both resident DJs into clubs 30 minutes apart from each other, I think.
Yeah.
What we did before we started Cosmic Gate, though, was like I came to your, like the night I was off, I came to your club, hanging out, having a beer, listening to new music, and see how he
fucks up.
He is a dance floor. But just with Cosmic Gate, we actually started playing together. We didn't know each other too well before we started Cosmic Gate. That's one of the funny behind Cosmic Gate.
Sure. Well, I know you've talked about this before, but just quickly for the people who might not know, how did you first meet each other?
Nick just said mutual friends brought us together. We were releasing on the same label that I happened to work for on top, and it was just some group of guys that are into DJing, into producing, and that's how we got introduced. And really, like one day, more or less by chance, we were ending up in a studio together, and Nick's back then studio partners, they just left, and the two of us were just chatting and then jamming around, and 3 hours later we had this track there.
It was
about it.
For us, like a life-changing moment, right? Because it was 2 p.m. and the others left, and we were like, didn't know each other that well, We're like, what else? Should we go home? Maybe. I don't know. And then we started talking music and created this track in 3 hours, which was the drums at the end. And then, everything changed
That's amazing. I mean, do you think about, if you had just gone home that day?
No, absolutely, because the question was, so these guys left. One said, "Oh, I didn't sleep enough. I'm gonna have a nap," and we were literally said, "So what's the deal? Are we nap time too? We always can need a nap here and there."
Yeah,
so it was really like have nap time too, and then. I remember there was this track from Italy. I won't remember the name. I knew the cover right away. I would pick it out of all my records, and we this is so awesome. And I think we sampled a snare or a clap, and then we just started building around it. So it was absolutely a life-changing moment because it could have totally gone the other way. We could have 5 minutes later been in our cars on the way home, and instead at 5 or 6 p.m., 3-4 hours later, we had this track, and 8 months later, it was number one in every single dance chart in Germany. And 2 months before that, we somehow came up with the name Cosmic Gate because we needed a project name. So there was no plan. As said, we literally didn't really know each other.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's amazing. And, leading up to that moment for both of you individually, had you already sort of decided in your own mind that music was something you were going to pursue as a career? Were you looking at it, it professionally at that time?
Yeah, definitely. Right, Bossy? I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was playing already as a DJ, I think 3-4 times a week. I was producing every day. At this point, it was both. It was like my passion is like the only thing I could think of. And obviously I wanted to succeed, but to create this project, to tour the world, that wasn't in our minds, right?
It never was. Well, I studied marketing before, so I had my it's not really an MBA, but something like that in my pocket. That was 1.5 years before that, I guess. And then I remember I went talked to the family. Was like, guys, I'm not gonna go search for a job here. I just want to do what I do, my DJing, my producing, professional for 2 years. And they were like, oh my God, you must be kidding me. My sister always said, oh, I thought you end up under a bridge somewhere. Yeah, and then this was a year, 1.5 later then, and met
I mean, it's worth remarking that, it was a different time then, right? So you couldn't point to a famous DJ and say, like that person.
Yeah.
There weren't just these hundreds or maybe thousands of DJs fully professionally flying around the world, doing what we all do now. It was the world traveling DJ. These were maybe a few. So that there was never a goal to play 120 shows.
Yeah.
Fly around the world nonstop. That was just not in the job description, kind of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's something about those times that I miss in a way, because then everybody's intentions were a lot more obvious, because there wasn't any thought that someone was doing it for the money, because there wasn't really any money,
Exactly. Yeah, that's very true.
We're still laughing about this. If you do trance, you're not about money anyways, because there's never really big money.
I want to talk a little bit about that in a second, and we'll move on. But you did mention, that first hit that you guys had, where all of a sudden you had a song that was on the charts, and it was something unexpected for you. What was that experience like? Was it just sort of a natural thing where people just gravitated to that song?
It was pretty, say, to make top 40, top 30. I don't remember in the German sales charts. It was very in your face, hard bass line, pretty. Not a lot of tracks. It was really just kick, bass line, some hi-hats, and then after in the extended mix, after 5.5 minutes, there was this one melody only coming. So it was a pretty unusual track to make it to the sales charts maybe, but somehow in the clubs, in these darker, it was just it was catching your attention. It was something new maybe,
and is that how it would happen? You know, it would pick up in the clubs, and then maybe radio would pick up on it. And
yeah, we had no intention for that song to be on radio or anything. We just wanted to produce a good track. That's it.
Right.
So it was even more exciting when all that happened. To answer your question, it was just like we couldn't believe it ourselves. And
was
that late '90s we're talking about?
It's 99.
Yeah.
Yeah, 98. There was late 98 was the studio session, and I will never forget May 4th or something. That was the official release date in 99. That's why we had the 20-year tour last year.
Right. Yeah. And we'll talk about all that. I know you put out the 20 years album, which was sort of well, how would you describe that album? Because to me, it's both a retrospective and, you know, there's also new music on there. It's kind of this hybrid album. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's why the name. That's why Forward Ever, Backward Never. It's like it's still honors to like the original tracks, but we want to also show how the music is at the moment, where we want the music to go to, you know? And that's why some new tracks and the old tracks and the new remix, how we think it should sound these days. Yeah, it's a hybrid, exactly.
Yeah, and I like that you guys did that. It's something I've talked to other people about doing. I try to convince some people to do that, to update older songs. Not because there's anything wrong with the old songs, but it's just in modern production, sometimes it's hard to play a song from 20 years ago next to a song from today.
100%. Just from the sound engineering, sometimes the arrangement, it's just all these tracks were like 8 minutes, and like for 2.5 minutes there's just, you know, for the modern listener it's like, hey, nothing happens there, and the dance floor gets like super flat. Yeah, people's attention span is just so much shorter.
Yeah.
And of course a DJ cannot totally ignore that, and the production has to be adjusted, and so to update songs is something that's just normal. Should do it.
The original is still there, you know. If you can still enjoy the original, it's not that we've replaced it.
Right. Yeah, and you know, while you were talking, you made me realize too that, you know, the way we present music has changed over time, right? And so you talked earlier about how you would play the whole night long at these early shows. And, you know, now sometimes at a festival, you might not even have 60 minutes, right? Yeah. And I was wondering, has that affected the way you guys write music over the years, you know, with that in mind?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We didn't surrender fully, so we don't make 3-4 minute edits.
Yeah,
love it. Yeah.
So we adjusted. You have to adjust. I remember that it was a tour. I think it was in Australia, and we were still like playing all the long original edits, and then we realized with all the other DJs around us, the people, they don't have what Bossy said earlier. They can't follow a track like that anymore. You know. That you have to make it a little shorter, and that clearly also came into our productions then at that point, but never to a point that we give up on vibe, because in our music, I feel vibe is one of the most important things. Not just one melody and then let's just write that melody for a minute and the song is done. It's always...
Yeah. I mean, to me, trance is a really interesting genre in electronic music, because I think, especially in these days, and especially for music that gets played, you know, at the big shows, the festivals, that kind of thing, trance is one of the few genres, I think, that still has this really big dynamic range. You know, there's still these quiet periods in these songs that you don't really get in a lot of other genres.
Absolutely not. But that's why EDM is missing that touching moment. It's like, it's just in the reds, right? It's just baseline, woo, woo. It's just so much information and time. These breaks in trance are just so important to just slowly restart track and introduce a new melody, just something heartwarming, emotional, and that's one of the reasons why we like trance. But yeah, some main stages we spoke about the audience not really used to something eventually. That's why trance is maybe not right now the main stage kind of first choice. But sometimes just people are open-minded and just, I don't know, EDC Orlando last year, we played main stage, sun was setting, it was just gorgeous, and everyone, it seemed to be such a good vibe.
Yeah.
It was just, it felt like made for it. So this was really awesome.
But definitely when we produce a song, it is always longer in the beginning than the end result that you are going to hear.
Right.
Like, it's great, but we have to
Well, sure. And I think sometimes that can be a good exercise, right? In terms of, I do that even in my own productions of, I tend to put a lot of elements into a song right away, and then half the time is spent taking things out to see,
less is more. Less is more. Yeah.
Yeah. I had Paul Oakenfold on the show a while back, and we were talking about sort of the wax and wane of different genres. And he was saying, for his own sound, which, I guess sometimes he's been called trance, sometimes he's been called progressive, whatever you want to call him. But he was saying, there was a moment for him where he got frustrated that it wasn't sort of the main stage sound anymore, and that it wasn't, the biggest thing. But then after a while, he sort of came to the realization that everything comes back around. And if you tried to do something else anyway, it wouldn't really be authentic. And it would be kind of missing the point of why you started it.
Yeah, 100%. You got to do what you believe in. If it's the hot stuff at the moment or not, it doesn't really matter. But if you chase the new style, the new hot stuff all the time, that doesn't work out. It won't work out for us. Even more about like Cosmic Gate, it's something we would always present music. We feel we want to present it. Not we don't want to look at others. What are they doing? And then we do something similar. So and DJ.
Yeah, we actually produce the music and we present it. So for us, it's really important to be authentic and do something that we also love and be proud of, right?
Yes.
So we don't want to just follow any trend and then have no identity anymore at the end.
Well, and you guys have been remarkably consistent. I mean, you've put out, what is it now, 9 albums?
So many
of original songs. I mean, let alone the mix albums and all that. But consistently every couple of years, a new album. And I don't think we even have enough time to go through everything. But it's in all of that time, was there a time where it felt like maybe you did want to change directions, or maybe you felt like just sort of unsure about what the next step would be? Or have you always just sort of pushed ahead with, the sound that kind of you started with and your passion?
Well, I can recall 2 moments real quick, like when we were with big EMI records for the first tracks, the drums we spoke about, then Exploration of Space, Firewire. We were so successful. And then
the major label, major company,
big EMI major company, and they wanted something from us we didn't feel, and then we just big major contract, but we sat there and didn't do anything for a year because we didn't feel connected with the guys anymore. They wanted music from us. We didn't see
music, right? They wanted to succeed in the charts. I mean, it's not that we're against that, but not for any price, right? That's what you
and not to chase it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we're like, you know what? We rather not be with a major company and we do our own thing, start from scratch again.
Yeah, that's what we did with the independent own label back then. And second time was maybe when EDM got so big. A lot of colleagues from trance, they totally switched to EDM. Now coming back here and there.
Right.
A little pause.
Yeah, that was a good pause.
So yeah, a lot of people said, "Hey, you should have gone that road. There's so much money and stuff." Is that, yeah, money can't buy happiness.
I mean, obviously, we were all influenced by new music. You will hear that in our sound too, but we never went all the way. Just as I said, for example, earlier, during those times, we made the tracks a little shorter and stuff. So you're always influenced by what's going on, but don't just follow blindly.
Sure. Well, and at this point, you've been doing it long enough that I'm sure you've seen the different waves, right? So it's not just the rise of EDM, but you were around for, the early 90s, late 2000s, when not only trance was having this big moment, but, acts like Prodigy and Chemical Brothers and, are having this big pop moment. So I have to imagine that gives you a better perspective on kind of how all these pieces can fit together, right?
100%.
Moving forward a little bit, you mentioned, not enjoying the experience exactly with the major record label. And at a certain point, I think early 2010s, right, you started Wake Your Mind Records, which is your own label. Was that at least partially born out of that desire to just, be able to do everything your own way? Not have anyone sort of try to make the decisions for you?
Obviously, we would have never let someone else make the decisions for us, but it's just good as a DJ to have your own brand, to have your radio show, to have the label. It's about branding, to have the chance to have a platform for young artists. That
was actually the main reason I said, because luckily even at that time, even if we worked if it was Black Hole or Armada, they really supported in whatever we wanted. They weren't telling us go that direction or do that. So that wasn't the driving force in creating the label. It was more to giving new producers and DJs a platform, right? And to have this whole brand. It was just it made sense to have our own label.
Did you feel like at the time there maybe weren't enough outlets for the artists you were excited about?
That is a really good point, because that is one of those, and it still is. It's really hard to find music that we love, and we thought if we have our own label, let's create more of those and give those producers a chance and make that music bigger that we love,
Yeah.
The progressive sound of trance, whatever you call that. It's like, I don't want to.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I never know. I mean, it's funny to me how the people who make the music are always the people who don't know how to label it or don't even care,
It's, for us, it's more feeling. That's why it doesn't matter how you call it, whatever you call it.
And, the Wake Your Mind, just overall brand, I guess. How long, when did you conceptualize that? Was the label the sort of the start of that stamp, or did that start a long time before that?
It was with the album, right?
Yeah, exactly. So long ago. Yeah, well, it's a little bit of a statement. Back then, music was a little bit separating between, that was 2010 was maybe EDM was on its prime, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
And trance was a little bit suffering, and things felt, come on. And so the name of the album, Hey, Wake Your Mind, like we did something different than maybe some people expected. And so start to feel Wake Your Mind. It's about emotion, it's about feelings, and it's about music experience and all that. We always try to give like here is the name for the album, and then we felt this is a suitable name as well for the label.
Yeah, that makes sense. And over all of these years, you mentioned this sort of whirlwind touring that started up, and you guys have been running around the globe for the past 20 years. how's your relationship with the tour life at this point? Like, I have to imagine at the beginning, it's exciting, it's fun. You're going all these new places, playing shows for people you've never seen before. Is that something you embraced early? Do you still embrace it? What's your relationship to touring these days?
Yeah, I don't know. It's so, because as you said, it's 20 years. It's like, it's our life. It's even, I don't know, it's normal. Obviously, the traveling, being tired nonstop, that is a problem, and sometimes can be really hard on us, right? Like each other. But then I don't know. We really love playing, and when we're in the club and in front of the crowd, I know it sounds weird and stupid, but actually we forget about it and we really, really love it.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's not weird at all, man.
Yeah, after all these years, also we have so many friends all over the world. It's so many cities where we come to and to have a nice dinner with a group of friends. So there's a lot of upsides. Just the constant being away from friends and family, that is a problem, which is also one thing that when this whole lockdown and started, for the first month or two, I was like, oh, it actually is nice to not have to go anywhere for a little bit. It didn't. Yeah, some DJs do that every year, I think, right? They have 2-3 months off. We never took the time for that.
Yeah, 2 weeks max.
I mean, is that one of those things? Sometimes I feel like that's just down to personality. You know, somebody who can, especially in our line of work, who can just say, no, I'm going to take 3 months off. Personally, I don't think mentally, I think I would get uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, absolutely. After 2 weeks not playing, I feel like I have no clue what's going on in the world of DJing, of music anymore. I feel like,
when we're off 2 weeks, right? And then we play a show, it's it's weird in the beginning. And it's only 2 weeks. I'm like, what? How does it work?
Isn't that so weird? You do it so many times, but if you stop for
which buttons to press, but it's like if you're say you play 10 shows a month, and then just 2-3 weeks. Like we're constantly the radio show. There's new tracks. You go to Beatport, you get tracks sent over. You have your record box on point. There's this new bootleg we make. So then you're in the groove, and then just 2 weeks vacation, and then okay, cool. Then you come back, and it's like.
But it's also so interesting with what I just said, that I tried to embrace the positiveness of staying at home. But now I'm at the point that I'm like, what did you ever complain about? Why is traveling hard? I don't get it.
Right.
Have a drink on a flight, you check into a hotel. It sounds great at the moment.
Right.
Now we understand when our friends tell us, oh, that's first world problems. Suck it up.
It's very true. And it's so funny how we all have that short memory, right?
Exactly.
100%.
Well, I mean, so what does happen now? Because I'm looking at this in my own career. I'm talking to a million people. Everybody's trying to figure it out, right? Is we all might not play any shows for a while here. And it's sort of unclear how our business works now. And for you guys, I mean, I know you just released the Wake Your Mind 4 mix, which was last month, I think.
Yeah.
And so how are you guys dealing with quarantine and the whole business just being flipped upside down?
Yeah, well, I think Nick already gave a little bit of an insight. At first, it's like, okay, you embrace, you enjoy to, literally sleep as much as you want to, not be, always rushed. There's no time for nothing. Sometimes
for a bit, You
come home on the Sunday, Monday, and on Thursday it's go again. But yeah, there's quite some things to do. There's still a radio show goes on. Productions, of course, go on. We have some more things in the making. Nick did some beautiful rooftop set in his apartment. I've been playing here in my condominium building by the pool. So we've been we still kept busy. We got some new music coming, some remixes. So it's not like that we're at home on the couch. We don't know what's going on. But you were totally right. The touring life, for the next month, of course. We do have a super nice show coming up in San Antonio this weekend, a drive-in show. So
you're doing one of those.
So which will be a fun new experience, and it's my favorite word, unprecedented times, and they ask for good answers and good thinking, and this is just a very good idea, and then friends of ours took it, and it's definitely way better than nothing. It's going to be really fun. Looking forward to that.
But in general, like this, we can't plan anything. We're just here trying to be responsible and hope and wait until everything comes back again. There's not much you can do at the moment about it. So except shows like this, like be a little innovative, but we all have to be responsible and get through this, and then hopefully, have our eyes on the times when it's starting again.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see whenever things do start again, even if it's a while from now. I am very interested to see if anything changes in the DJ world. Because I think in this time, people I've been talking to, I think people feel like they can experiment with their productions a little more. They don't have to think about, how it's going to play at the festival. I think people are, maybe expanding and just feeling freer to create, not knowing, what's going to happen with it. And I'm very interested to see, if anything will change. I mean, for Cosmic Gate, do you think, whether it's musically, whether it's your approach to touring, whether it's just anything that you haven't had time to sort of assess because, you've just been on this roller coaster for 20 years, do you think anything will change when things go back to normal?
It's interesting that you say that with production, for example, because we released Universal Love, the single, and Your Mind. They were all like meant to be played in clubs and festivals. And then we were like, does it really make sense to release those tracks at the moment when no one can really enjoy them in the environment they're supposed to be heard? So we definitely thought about producing maybe more like tracks that you can enjoy at home also, like a little bit more relaxed. So that definitely influenced us in our productions. We've not done it yet. we are not ready. Which is also a funny thing. When this started, I felt I have all the time in the world and I felt so relaxed, and now the stress kicks in again.
Yeah,
so like we haven't done what we wanted to do yet.
It's really like it's always something. It's really not like be at home and be like, oh, just I watch the bay, watch the boats go by. No, it's always something. But on the other hand, being bored is the worst, which we're simply not used to. So it's a good way to get through all this, and
I mean, maybe as also gets into what I just said, it's like maybe these times more DJs and producers produce more like different music and bring new inspiration, to change the music a little bit. That would be nice, something nice that comes out.
I think that would be great. Because I think, for a lot of DJs, regardless of genre, whatever, little niche they're in, I think a lot of people were feeling kind of fatigued by 2018, 2019, that, especially at the festivals, you were hearing a lot of the same things, same lineups, all that kind of thing. And so I don't know if this will actually happen. I'm kind of a cynical person by nature, so I feel like maybe it won't, but it would be cool if, it just, everything got shaken up to the point where it looked really significantly different when it came back.
Yeah, I really hope so. Also in the DJ sets, I feel that all the streams, I really hope that DJs have that in mind, that it's not a dance floor and they can be more experimental and try new things,
Yeah, really. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it makes me wonder too, for you guys, 20 plus years in the game. We mentioned all these albums, these mixes, the Grammy nomination, which I want to get to in a second. But, you've had all these accomplishments. It's taken you to this point. Obviously, you put out the 20 years album, which is sort of showing that, you're still really interested in new sounds and pushing yourselves forward. You're putting out music from new artists. What keeps you here? Like, what's still exciting? What's still fun? What's the thing that gets you the most excited about what you're doing these days?
Well, it's still what we mentioned at the beginning. We're just two guys that are happy and lucky enough to have made it down the path and be professional DJs and producers. That was our dream. That was our passion. And we never lost this. Like we were laughing before about how quick we forget, but normally it's always tired, jet lag, this and this and this and that. But it's still never work. We never go to work. We still live our dream. We're just blessed and thankful for what we have, and maybe that's why we most of the time smile and enjoy what we do.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like it's coming from a place of gratitude, which I think is, one of the best mental states you can be in, especially as an artist.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And we mentioned the Grammy nomination earlier. I didn't want to just breeze over that. And it's funny to think too, that was only a year ago, right? A year and a half ago.
Yeah,
which, a Grammy nomination coming that long into a career, was that a surprise to you guys? Was that something earlier in your career you had even thought about?
No, it was a total surprise. We both would have never even thought about it. And that's why I will never forget the day when our manager called us. And I was like, what? Yeah, I couldn't even believe it. Never in our entire career did we even think of like being nominated or anything, right? Bossy.
No, absolutely.
That's why it was even nicer, and especially at such a late point.
Yeah, we're doing dance music on top. We do trance. And this is maybe not the music getting most support from just such it's a Grammys.
Yeah.
Hello. And I'm still actually, every time I catch myself still being excited and not really be in disbelief somehow. It's like, oh wow, this is not a dream. So yeah, this is something we're really proud on, because we sometimes hey, this is our favorite trance track. We're hey, cool, but we think this really fell into place with the song, our remix, and sometimes maybe just good things happen. And
to see how relevant like we are even after the 20 years, it was like it felt really good.
Yeah, that's kind of how I looked at it as well. Not to take anything away from the actual remix itself, which is, of course, a great remix. But to me, it's almost just an acknowledgement more so of the whole career, right? And that, I don't know, obviously, if the people who actually control the Grammys meant it that way. But that's how I took it, is, these guys have been doing this for so long. And this is sort of an acknowledgement of all of that work. Because it's not, I feel like with the Grammys, with the timing of it, and I'm sure when you were writing that remix, it didn't feel, miles different from other remixes, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. You're total right. When you do something in the studio, you come to a point, you're like, hey, I like this, but to really judge an own production, also like other people's productions. I hear it and say, it's a good tune, but sometimes I'm like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And then literally nothing happens with the track, while others that I'm like, yeah, they turn huge. And sometimes I shouldn't be an A&R working for a label, because it's very tough. And yeah, you're right. We didn't think this is any different to stuff we did before or after.
Has there ever been a time, with any, you've had a lot of hits over the years, a lot of songs on the charts. Were there any of them where you kind of knew as you were writing it or as you finished that, hey, this could be a big song?
No, for us, it's always, maybe, but in general, it's more like a personal feeling. We love it, but we also are aware of it, that this is just us, like a personal thing. So we are not the types of sending it to someone and say, here, listen to this. This is the best thing you've ever heard. Like, I'm aware that this is just my opinion. So I'm not, there's no objective opinion that this is great. So I'm never, did we ever have that? I don't think so. Exploration of Space, the first times we played that song in a club,
it didn't work at all.
I tell you that.
In all honesty, that's why we even produced the B-sides, because we weren't so sure about it.
Timing is a funny thing, right? Sometimes you're a little too early, like in maybe the case of Exploration of Space, it was a little early. And then other times, there's songs where you think, maybe you do think, this could be something. And then it doesn't happen. The timing of everything is really, it's one of those things where you just sort of have to make peace with,
Eventually, it's just one or two people playing, not playing it. And the tune will get a total different dynamic, is maybe the right word.
Sometimes the obvious tracks that you think, and you play them and the crowd freaks out, but then they also quickly forget about it. A lot of times it's the songs that they don't really get in the beginning and they have to understand them. Those go off. So it's really hard to tell upfront, this is it. This is going to be a hit.
Yeah.
Especially after 20 years, we know so many times we've seen it when we thought of other tracks. Okay, they might get big, but they didn't. We gave up on that.
Yeah, we've seen everything and still we know nothing.
I love that.
It's still, but another reason for why we're liking what we do is you still learn every day. We have 1-2 experiences. You're up on stage and something technically, for example, happens and you're like, wow, still you do this 20 years together, maybe even 30 total, and still new things happen you never were facing before. Or now we're sitting at home and we have to think about ways what to do next.
Yeah, well, and maybe that goes back. I think that's a really nice sort of way to start wrapping it up, is I think that goes back both to the idea of gratitude, that, just when something good happens, you're thankful for it. Otherwise, you're just thankful that you're here, right? And doing it. And then I think that also goes back to kind of the idea of pushing things forward, right? There's always something new to learn. Even this far into the game, there's still, everything's changing around us. This year, who could have predicted this year? And it keeps it exciting, that's for sure.
Exactly. Who knows what's going to be next year? How strong the scene comes back? But if it doesn't come back, we were pretty much at the beginning to build the scene. We were playing small clubs, and If it's so, if there's less clubs, smaller clubs, whatsoever, we will be there and we build it up, because 200 people or 2,000 or 20,000 doesn't really make a difference. If you have an audience, that's the crowd you play for, and that's the people you give whatever you have.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'll ask 2 quick questions to wrap it up. The first is just, first of all, I've really enjoyed this. So thank you for doing this. This is super fun. And I really like watching you guys interact with each other. And it makes me glad to see that you're still having fun with each other and still enjoying each other's company and joking and all that. And it makes me wonder about the dynamic of the relationship over the years, because you mentioned you didn't even know each other really when you started the group. And so I have to imagine you were sort of becoming friends at the same time Cosmic Gate was becoming an entity. And, whatever comes to mind, I guess I'm just curious, how your own relationship has changed over the years.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially as you said in the beginning, barely knew each other. And then we had to travel out of the blue together. So we were sitting next to each other for hours, and it was weird in the beginning, right? So we really had to get to know each other. I'm sure both at a lot of points were like, this guy. But yeah, I don't know. We get along so well these days. Like we know nothing is like personal, even if we say something. I don't know. We're very balanced, mellow people, though. I think at the end, and if someone is a little off track, the other one brings him back into line.
Yeah. Which in general, people ask, "Oh, isn't it tough? Like two guys, and you can't always do what you want to." No, it has way more advantages when you're two guys. Being in the studio, when you're stuck, you're not sure about something. There's always the other guy. Same up there when DJing. With all the experience we have, sometimes you maybe do not get the response back from the crowd the way you wish, and you're like, okay, should I go this or that way? Hey, there is always the other guy that might come up with something now. And sometimes, what do you think? I totally forgot. It's you're just thankful for the extra on the other side. And so it's I think big advantage to be two guys instead of being solo and just be on the solo trip and maybe get lost in certain things.
Yeah. Well, I will agree. As a solo artist, I will completely agree with that. I was always very jealous of people who had a support system like that. Yeah. Last question. I ask this at the end of each episode. Just kind of a simple thing. The first thing that pops into your head. Just looking for a time in your life, a memory, a moment, could be from any time, recently or when you were a kid, any time when just in a single moment, music really had a deep impact on you, really meant something to you. And that's meant to be really broad. You can kind of interpret it as you want.
So, I mean, the thing is, like, it's tough to think of a single moment because music for me from an early child on was so important. But I always say my parents listening to opera, and I heard it when I was upstairs. I don't know, it always, music just moves me so much, and it helps me through ups and downs. Really.
So you have memories as a kid of being really moved by opera?
Yeah. That's
actually really interesting. Yeah.
What do I have? Like for me, it's like some goosebump moments, and the last one, it was a few months ago. I was in Tulum in Mexico, and they played okay music. It wasn't too pushy EDM, but nothing to really enjoy. Beautiful dinner and this and that, and people okay. And suddenly the DJ played Eric Pritz's Opus, and the whole place went nuts. It was just a nice dinner restaurant, but just the people were jumping up, and everyone was going so wild, and just music has such an impact. It can be so important, and just changing to this amazing tune from the other music, which sure wasn't bad, but it didn't make a difference. But this tune there, wow! Just thinking about it, these moments that music can give to us are just,
That's beautiful. And I think I talk about this a lot on the show. I think those kind of moments, that's what keeps us here. That's what we're chasing, right? Is you just always want another one of those moments.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll make this, this might be a sweaty analogy, but I think between your two stories, there's actually a connection, because whether it's hearing opera as a kid and feeling these strong feelings that maybe you don't even know what they are at the time, or just a couple months ago hearing sort of a classic song and seeing its effect and getting goosebumps, it's all kind of the same thing, right? It's realizing that that music exists, and some of it you can make a deeper connection with that goes beyond words. And and that it somehow, at least for me, connects to something deeper. I think that's beautiful.
This is exactly what we try to do, write music that goes a little bit deeper. We know we just do dance music, but still we try to do dance music that eventually hits people a little bit deeper. At least we try our best. Deeper song.
I love that. But no, this was great. Thank you guys for taking the time to do it. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Likewise, that was awesome. We enjoy good interviews with someone that's deeply into music too. Always very appreciated.
Okay, thank you guys. Take care.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hope to see you in DC once.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we can all get together in real life. All right, guys, take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, that's the show. Shout out to Cosmic Gate. Great to have you on. For everybody out there listening, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Don't forget, Cosmic Gate, the new compilation, Wake Your Mind 04, is out right now with new music from them and a bunch of new curated music from people on their label as well. They're doing some live streams. They're always working on something exciting. So hit the link in the description. Go follow them. Stay in touch with me too. Why not? My name is @Willy Joy or @BackToBackPod on all social media. You can also email me directly, backtobackpod@gmail.com. Also, in the description of this episode, there's going to be a link where you can come join the Back to Back Discord. I want to meet you. Come chat with me. That is my chat, my server. I'm in there every single day. We have an amazing community of people. We're sharing music with each other, sharing memes, talking about what's going on in our lives. If you're a music producer, you can come share what you're working on and get feedback. So come join the Discord. Go follow Cosmic Gate. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're healthy and happy. I hope you feel like you're progressing. I hope you feel like you're accomplishing some goals. You know, in quarantine times, I think it's all about the small victories. We got to celebrate the wins right now. And that's what I want to put out to you this week. Celebrate your wins, however big or small they may be. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. Wear your mask. Wear your mask, people. Social distancing, wash your hands. All of it still applies. We'll get through all this weird shit together. But hey, I'm glad we're here together. I love you. Thank you for joining me on another episode. And just like every week, I will see you next Tuesday. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.